My talk's about whether we can use Agile methodology to unlock diversity on teams. So I talked about how I work at Symantec. I'm on the diversity and inclusion team. And when we think about diversity at Symantec, we think about all of these things that you see here. So there's things that you see of people when you meet them. Those are things above the waterline of visibility. Often when we're recruiting for diversity, we're looking above that waterline. So we're looking at aspects of people like their race and their gender. But there's also so much beneath the surface that contributes to who we are as individuals and how we work as individuals within an organization. And that really influences our discussions about inclusion. When we're talking about inclusion, we're talking about a lot of those things beneath the surface that make up who we are as individuals. And the things above the surface often influence what's beneath the surface because we're socialized that way. So gender differences in the way we think and the way we live and the way we act on teams, I think a lot of that is socialized, but it is where we are today. So thinking about inclusion and diversity, a lot of you here, I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir, a lot of you understand the business case behind diversity on teams, right? If you have a team of all Caucasian men or all anything, they're going to perform okay. Usually they get about a B+ as a team in performance in terms of productivity and innovation. But when you add some difference into that team, productivity goes up, innovation goes up, and then the bottom line goes up. So there's a really strong business case to bringing in diversity into teams and increasing their productivity and innovation. But diversity is complex. Individuals are complex, and when you put a bunch of complex individuals together, you can end up with miscommunication. You can end up with people not really being able to work with each other effectively. And that's really where inclusion comes in. Inclusion is something intentional that you have to work on in order to be able to leverage diversity and unlock the power of diversity on teams. So in looking at inclusive behaviors, and I love that Marco went right before me because he gave you a lot of those inclusive behaviors and policies and things you can do at a company to change the culture. One thing that we're looking at, so one strategy amongst many, is whether the Agile methodology can give us some good ideas on inclusion. So the Agile Manifesto, Agile methodology is basically a way of working together as a team. A lot of technical teams, like computer science, programming teams, use the Agile methodology. A lot of them don't, and some non-technical teams have started using it as well. So it's a way of individuals working together on a team. And Agile teams value individuals and interactions over processes, or at least they say they do in theory. They also value collaboration. So collaboration and cross-functional teams are a huge priority. And then Agile teams work really quickly. So they work in often 2-week sprints on one project, and then that's done, and then they move on to the next project. So Agile teams are made up of different roles. You've got a product owner, who's the person who interacts with external and internal stakeholders like marketing and the customer and the architect. You've got a scrum master whose job it is anyone hearing feedback, like a hum? Okay, there we go. The Scrum Master's job is to make sure that the team complies with the Agile methodology. So to make sure that people follow the rules and things go the way they're supposed to go. And then the Scrum team is made up of the developers. Everyone together makes an Agile team, so everyone in yellow in this case. There's also processes that the Agile team follows, and I'm going to touch on 4 of the major processes. So one is the sprint planning meeting, and that's where the product owner and the development team get together. They go through the list of things that need to be done, which is called a product backlog. They pick some things to work on, so that's called the sprint backlog, and then they assign those things to different members of the teams. And again, in theory, this is done as a team. The development team often prioritize the work, and they say, well, this is the most important thing to do first, and this is how we're going to do it. And then they go into sprint, which is about a 2 weeks, sometimes it can be 4 weeks, It's a 2-week session of working on those tasks that they laid out for themselves. During a sprint, they have something called a daily stand-up. So every member of the team stands up, usually in the morning, depending on what time zone people are working in, it can differ. They stand up, they say, this is what I worked on yesterday, this is what I'm going to work on today, and here's what I'm stuck on. And then other members of the team can offer to help now that they know what people are stuck on. At the end of a sprint, they have something called a sprint review, where they talk about how the work went and what needs to be done. And they also have something called a retrospective, where they talk about the how. So they talk about what they could have done better to work more effectively as a team. My slides are stuck. Can I get help? There we go. So one thing about the Scrum team that's different from non-development teams or waterfall teams, which is how we have traditionally organized teamwork, is that they're supposed to be really cross-functional and collaborative. So you've got people who are designers, architects, developers, someone from marketing, someone representing the client, all in the same room talking about what needs to be done, right? And so you're really bringing, at least in terms, when you think about the iceberg, you're bringing functionality diversity to the table, and different functions have to work together and think together. So the fact that Agile teams are built to leverage functional diversity, I think gives them that potential to be able to bring in diverse perspectives and gives them that prioritization of diverse perspectives in the process. Agile teams also function on team rewards versus individual rewards. So when you've got a team who are coming from very different perspectives, have very different deliverables, you want to be able to reward them as a team as opposed to rewarding them as individuals, and that can help team solidarity. And I don't know if any of you were here when Leslie Miles gave his talk, but he talked about how back in the 50s during the war, they had to get a lot of different diverse people working together towards a common goal, and teams actually worked really well when they felt like, one, they were under a time crunch and there was some kind of crisis, which Agile methodology, because you have a 2-week sprint, there's always a crisis. So putting people in crisis together often brings them together, whether that's good or bad, we can discuss that later, but it gives you a common goal that you're working towards, and that can also help you overcome a lot of the differences that you can have when you don't have that tight structure and that tight deadline to meet. The daily stand-up is a really good opportunity to get the quieter people on the team to be able to be heard. So it's a structure that you can build in to non-development teams, where it's not just the loudest person or the most talkative person that gets to talk about what they're doing, but every individual on the team gets to talk about what they're doing, and individuals on the team are encouraged to help each other if they're unblocked. The Scrum Master is, to me, I think, one of the biggest potentials that we can pull from Agile teams into non-development situations. So imagine if you had someone on your accounting team or your finance team or your legal team whose only job it was to ensure that the team is working well together and to ensure that the voices that might be left out are heard, to ensure that everyone has a seat at the table, everyone's voice is being heard, and anyone who's blocked is able to get unblocked. Project management tools, a lot of you work at companies that use project management tools across both technical and non-technical teams. In more old school companies like ours, that's not true. So if you're not on a technical team, you don't know that project management tools exist. So most of us, we have face-to-face meetings or we send emails, and that's how we communicate as teams. And so a lot can get lost in that, and quieter people tend to get drowned out by people who are more vocal. So project management tools allow people to communicate in different ways with each other. Retrospectives are another really powerful tool. Imagine if every team stopped every once in a while and evaluated how they were working as a team. So when you give yourself an opportunity to talk about team dynamics, you can bring up issues that may otherwise go unaddressed. So I want to say here that Agile does not mean diverse. Most Agile teams in Silicon Valley look like this. And the founders of Agile look like this. So this is not a methodology that was developed to create inclusion, but I think there's some things we can borrow from it. So I want to say that Agile methodology, in combination with diverse teams and in combination with some intentional inclusion, can lead to better teams, meaning more productive and happier teams. So I know we're running out of time, but I want to talk about a couple of pitfalls with Agile. One is that team members can often feel like they're just a cog. So they're a cog in a 2-week sprint, they lose sight of the mission, they lose sight of their purpose in the organization, and they don't really see a path forward or upwards for themselves. So it's really important within Agile teams, as within all teams, for managers to take that role of making sure that every team member knows that their ambitions are being taken into account and their development is being taken into account. Similarly, I had one software engineer say to me that it's sometimes embarrassing to have to do a daily stand-up and talk about what you did the day before, because sometimes we don't have productive days the day before. And so sticking to a format where you have to produce a deliverable every single day can be too rigid. And so taking that into account, I think Agile teams need to evaluate how someone's doing throughout an entire project as opposed to day-to-day. So the day-to-day reporting is not about shaming people who haven't done their work the day before, but it's just about being transparent about what work needs to still get done. And we have, just as in all other teams, the potential for unconscious bias to influence who gets what tasks on Agile teams. So women can get stuck with the homework or the housework of the team, so they get stuck with note-taking and process stuff, and men get the strategic stuff. So how do you avoid that? Well, unconscious bias awareness and training, especially for Scrum Masters, but also for Agile teams, is crucial here. So in summary, Agile teams can be better teams in terms of diversity. They can be more inclusive teams, and there's something that we can learn in the diversity and inclusion space from Agile methodology in terms of the scaffolding into which we can create safe space and create inclusion. All right, am I done? Thank you.